So good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you to the April 25th, 2023 meeting of the Calvert County Board of Commissioners. At this time, I'd like to ask Pastor Forrester if he would come forward to give us an invocation. Morning, sir.
Morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Great.
Good morning, everyone. Would you join me in a word of prayer? Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you've given us, and we recognize that every day is indeed a gift from you. Lord, I pray for our commissioners. I pray for our leaders, Lord God, that you would give them wisdom, Lord, to continue to serve our community with integrity. And Lord, just have your hand upon them. Be with each and every one of us today, and may we honor you in everything that is said and done. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. God bless you all.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So thank you, Pastor Forrester. He comes to us today from Life Church. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next item on the agenda is to approve the agenda as presented. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
I have none.
Mr. President, make a motion to approve and adopt the agenda as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is public service announcements. This coming Thursday, I believe, is the 21-year anniversary of the tornado that hit La Plata, for those of us that were around at that time. Doesn't seem like it was that long ago, and in Southern Maryland, we're very fortunate we don't have many tornadoes, but that was a very devastating event for Southern Maryland.
Remember it well.
Absolutely. Also, this afternoon at 2 o'clock, we're going to have a tree dedication here in front of the courthouse for the new oak tree to replace the majestic tree that we lost several years ago. And we're going to dedicate that tree to all the Gold Star recipients in Calvert County. And also, we received word that Cass Taylor Jr. from Western Maryland, who served as Speaker of the House for many years, died yesterday, and we want to pass along our condolences to his family. I knew Cass worked with him on some issues. He was a great individual. So again, want to pass along our condolences to his family and thank them for his service. That brings us to proclamations. The first proclamation on the agenda, Commissioner Grasso, it's for Huntingtown High School Eye of the Storm Theater Productions.
Thank you, Katie. Can I get the supervisor, Christy Cook, to come forward, introduce yourself, and all of the performers you have here? And would all of the performers line up, please, behind Christy? Yes, face that way.
Okay, good morning. My name is Christy Cook, and I'm the Supervisor of Fine and Performing Arts. And I would also like to turn it over to Derek Anderson, who is the theater teacher at Huntingtown High School, for their award-winning performance at the Maryland Thespian performance back in January. They won the one act for their performance, and they will be able to go on in June and perform at the national level.
Wow. Come up, please.
Come on up, we're going to take a picture.
These remarkable students that are behind me did something that nobody has ever done in Maryland's history. They performed not only the one-act play that won, we also performed the main stage, which we had to compete against all the other high schools in the state to be invited to the State Theater Festival to perform a full-length main stage. So they not only did the one act, they also did the main stage. That one-act play we actually used with our Theater 2 kids, which are our sophomore students, and a couple juniors. And so they're not even at the height of what they're going to be able to do. But they are going to represent Maryland this summer in Indiana for the state of Maryland.
Nice.
Sorry, my name's Derek Anderson.
All of you come to the microphone, give us your names, please.
My name is Aiden Ford.
Come on up.
I'm Zaria McMurray.
I'm Kayla Rogers.
I'm Erin Walker.
Tori Minikowski.
Riley Damalugi.
Paige Radish. Maggie Berry.
Jacob Sharp.
Terry Bartlebaugh.
William Gilreath.
Nicholas Clark.
Taylor Eversole.
Roman Nowak.
Catherine Polo.
Julia Sigmund.
Sean Foss.
Emily Engel.
Awen Fields.
Austin Hickey.
Aiden Hickey.
Alexandra Kreutzer.
I'm Beth Morton, the principal of Huntingtown High.
Got it, okay.
Well, thank you all for being here today, and thank you for what you have accomplished. I know sports seems to reign supreme in the schools, but for me, the arts are important. And thank you all so much, and congratulations. Okay, I'm going to read the proclamation. Whereas the Huntingtown High School Eye of the Storm Productions won the Chapter Select One Act Festival State Championship at the 2023 Maryland Thespians Festival for their production of the one-act version of This Random World by Steve Dietz. And whereas the Huntingtown High School Eye of the Storm Productions has been invited to represent the state of Maryland at the 2023 International Thespian Festival held in Bloomington, Indiana in June 2023. Whereas Director Derek Anderson leads Huntingtown High School Eye of the Storm Productions, and whereas the Huntingtown High School Eye of the Storm Productions has maintained a consistent standard of excellence in the field of theater arts and represents Calvert County Public Schools with professionalism and dedication to their craft. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County that congratulations are hereby extended to the Huntingtown High School Eye of the Storm Productions on winning the Chapter Select One Act Festival State Championship. Be it further proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County joins with the community to wish them continued success in their future endeavors. Given under our hands and seal this 25th day of April 2023, signed by all 5 county commissioners. Congratulations.
Smile.
Okay. If you can't see the lens, it can't see you. So I'm looking at you. All right. So everyone find your window. Here we go. And 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Great. Congratulations.
I think this group probably always finds the lens, right?
Yeah, right. Saw 2 looking. Awesome. Congrats.
Good job, everyone. Keeping the kids straight.
So aren't you getting ready to do something else? You got yeah, but another theater production at the school? You got something coming? You've already done it. Okay. So the next item on the agenda is a proclamation for the Calvert County Public School Support Person of the Year. Commissioner Cox.
Can I have Karen Tuck come forward, please? Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
My name is Karen Tuck. I'm a special education instructional assistant at Sunderland Elementary School. That means that I push into classes, pull students out who are struggling in certain areas, whether they're students with individual education plans, 504s, or general education students who we're finding have some gaps with some skills that need to be learned to be kept up to speed. with mainly literacy and mathematics. So that's what I do.
Very good. Please come forward, please. And I think the support staff doesn't get recognized enough throughout the year, and that's why this is so special to us. So with that, I'll read the proclamation. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County desires to recognize educational support professionals who are dedicated to improving the quality of life and wellness for Calvert County students and staff. And whereas Karen Tuck, instructional assistant at Sunderland Elementary School, was selected as a recipient of the 2023 Educational Support Professional of the Year Award for Calvert County Public Schools. And whereas Karen has worked in the Calvert County Public School System for 4 years. She enhances the school learning environment with her global experiences and perspectives of living and working internationally. And whereas Karen takes initiatives to help others and always supports colleagues, students, staff, and parents. Karen engages in professional learning opportunities as a lifelong learner. Whether she is working with students in intervention groups, supporting a student to express his ideas or thoughts in writing, facilitating the disagreement between students as they walk through the halls at arrival and dismissal, or offering encouragement and praise to a student or colleague. Karen's positive influence is appreciated by all who encountered her. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County, the sincerest congratulations are extended to Karen Tuck for being awarded 2023 Calvert County Public Schools Educational Supports Professional of the Year. Be it further proclaimed, the Board of County Commissioners congratulates Karen for her achievements in leadership and expresses appreciation in her dedication service to Calvert County Public Schools, given under our hands and seals the 25th day of April, signed by all 5 county commissioners. Thank you for all you do.
Yep, we're going to put you right in the middle. We'll have some commissioners on one side. Come on in. Yeah. Oh, hey. Perfect.
You gotta get on the end, you're gonna make me look good. Put him over here with those tall guys.
All right, let's scooch in a little bit on the sides. Go. And 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2. Congratulations.
Stay where you are, please.
Next, we have the 2023 Calvert County Public Schools Teacher of the Year, Commissioner Hart.
Thank you, Mr. President. John Allen, please. Good morning, sir.
I'm well. How are you, sir?
Good, good, good.
Good.
Say your name and.
My name is John Allen. I've been a resident of Calvert County since 1990. I know that doesn't make me a real citizen of Calvert County because I don't have the generations going back that you all do, but for about 25 years, my wife and I ran a small business in Huntingtown where we produced documentary films for public television and other government agencies. We retired from that, and I had been a teacher out of high school, out of college, and now decided to go back to it, and it's been a pleasure.
Well, nice. Well, come on down, sir. Good morning. Good morning. Is there anyone else here who would like to say something? Or?
This is certainly Huntingtown High's day. Beth Morton, principal at Huntingtown High, and it has been just a honor to work with Mr. Allen. He is all about the school. He's all about kids, and he does so much for our school culture. And he's revamped and changed with his students our morning announcements, and kids will see him in the community and say, we look forward to that every single Friday. And the last thing I'd like to say about Mr. Allen is it's not just students first, but he also empowers them So when they leave high school, they are going to be so ready for their next step. So, thank you.
Very good.
Anybody else? Well, John, before I read this to you, you know, this obviously is an individual achievement. And, you know, in teaching, it takes so many, as we've seen, support staff and everything else. But, you know, one person truly makes a difference in a school system. You know, and we've seen it, and you've seen it as an educator over and over and over. I know with myself, there was a teacher, Mr. Draper. I couldn't do algebra to save my life. I could do regular math all day long. As soon as you put a letter there, I'd flatline. And the patience, you know, it's true. It's true. And he would keep me after school and everything, and he would go, Mike, nothing changes. But, you know, it was just remarkable, the patience. And then my daughter was another teacher, Mr. Cox. And he turned the light on in her, you know. So when I see this, you know, I know you've done that for probably several people. And some hands.
I've had a bunch of those kids.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it's so important. It really is because, you know, once that light gets turned on, it stays on, you know, and, you know, or you hope anyway. You know, and it's so important. So we want to read this for you as our appreciation, and it says, whereas the Calvert County Board of County Commissioners aims to acknowledge educators who are committed to enhancing the student standard of education for the students of Calvert County, and whereas John Allen, a journalism teacher at Huntingtown High School, was selected as the recipient of the 2023 District Teacher of the Year Award for Calvert County Public Schools. And whereas John's 8-year tenure in the Calvert County Public School System has given him ample opportunity to demonstrate his teaching prowess and contribute positivity to the growth of students under his tutelage. During this period, he has not only imparted knowledge, but also served as a role model to his students, inspiring them to be their best selves. John's dedication and commitment to teaching have earned him the respect and admiration of his colleagues, who look up to him for guidance and motivation. His impact on the education system in Calvert County is significant and enduring. And whereas in addition to teaching journalism, John has taken an extra initiative to promote education by creating a student-led writing center. This innovative project facilitates peer-to-peer learning and emphasizes the significance of reading and writing skills. John's efforts in establishing this writing center demonstrate his commitment to going beyond the call of duty to ensure his students have access to the resources and support they need to succeed academically. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County that sincerest congratulations are extended to John Allen for being awarded the 2023 Calvert County Public School Teacher of the Year. Be it further proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners congratulates John for his achievements in education and leadership and express appreciation for his dedicated service to Calvert County Public Schools, given under our hands and seal this 25th day of April 23, signed by all 5 commissioners. I don't want to make the doc look short, so I'll stand over here.
Here we go. And 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2. Congratulations.
More pictures. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations.
So, our final proclamation, Commissioner Ireland for Derek Robinson.
Crystal, you want to come up? Please introduce yourself and say what you can about this incident, because the proclamation I know is not going to cover it.
Yes. Good morning, Commissioners. Crystal Dowd, Acting Director of Public Safety. And I wanted to introduce ACO Derek Robinson. He is the recipient of this proclamation this morning. I've had a discussion with him. He's, just so you know, he's very humble and shy, and so I'm very happy that he's agreed to accept this proclamation publicly. So he explained to me that this situation happened so fast, but there was a moment of calm after it happened, and I really believe that, you know, you're where you're supposed to be in situations like that. So I'm just grateful for Derek and everything that he was able to do in this situation.
Perfect example, right place, right time.
Yeah.
Want to introduce yourself?
How are you guys doing? I'm Derek Robinson Jr. I'm with Animal Control.
You're right, he's humble, right? So Derek, thank you. That looks good. So as I said, the proclamation's not going to convey exactly his actions of that morning. He was very heroic in doing what he did, and we greatly appreciate it. Proclamation reads, whereas on Tuesday, April 18th, 2023, on his morning commute to work, Calvert County Animal Control Officer Derek Robinson, we have Derek Clark with the Sheriff's Office, that's why that came out, I apologize. Derek Robinson witnessed a serious collision involving a Dodge Durango and an 18-wheeler at an intersection in Charles County. And whereas ACO Robinson, without hesitation, worked with a Good Samaritan to assist with removing the driver of the Durango, which was on the verge of being engulfed in flames, and continued to help until first responders arrived on scene. And whereas ACO Robinson then used his van to block the roadway while responders secured the scene and tended to the victims. And whereas ACO Robinson's swift actions helped ensure the safety of both drivers, his outstanding service to fellow citizens is commendable and worthy of recognition. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County extend our sincere gratitude and appreciation to Animal Control Officer Derek Robinson for his heroic actions. Be it further proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners recognizes his unwavering commitment to protecting and serving fellow citizens. Given under our hands and seal this 25th day of April 2023. Thank you.
Just scooch a little bit this way. Perfect. We go in 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That brings us to consent. There are 2 items under consent today. Item 1, Office of the County Administrator, Digital Asset Management Software Contract. Item 2, Department of Public Works Lease Agreement for Waterman's Wharf and Solomons. Are there any objections to the items under consent?
I have none.
None.
Hearing none, those items will be adopted as presented. That brings us to new business. Item 1, Department of Parks and Recreation Program Open Space Grant Application. Director Nizal.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Shannon Nizal, Director of Parks and Recreation. And I will go ahead and read the memo. Background, the Department of Parks and Recreation currently has a capital improvement plan project to relocate and expand the tennis court complex at Dunkirk District Park. The project includes 5 tennis courts, 4 pickleball courts, parking, lighting, restrooms, and related amenities. The Board of County Commissioners has previously approved funding for this project. After completion of the design and sending it out to bid, it has been determined that the funding is not adequate to meet the requirements of the project. $225,000 from Program Open Space has already been allocated, and $700,000 has been allocated from the local park and playground infrastructure program to offset the cost to Calvert County taxpayers. Discussion. After completion of all design and permitting requirements, this project went out to bid in March of 2023. It has been determined that all bids have come in over budget. A resource available to cover the cost of the project and provide a 10% contingency is program open space. By amending our request with the Maryland Department of Natural Resources to an additional $745,000, Calvert County will be able to move forward with the construction of this much anticipated project in the community that has an approximate 12-month construction period. Fiscal impact. There is no fiscal impact to submit the application. If awarded, a public hearing will be scheduled to amend the fiscal year 2023 adopted budget to allocate $745,000 in grant funds to the Dunkirk District Park Tennis Courts CIP project. A 25% match is required for program open space projects, which has already been accounted for in the current approved project budget. Conclusion, recommendation, staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners authorize the Board President to sign the program open space grant application and funding authorization for Dunkirk District Park Tennis Courts to the State of Maryland Department of Natural Resources. And I'll entertain any questions if you have any.
Director, would you mind explaining the project and total costs so everybody understands?
So the project includes, at this time, 5 tennis courts, 4 pickleball courts, parking, lighting, restroom facilities, and the amenities to go along with those. So electric, water, septic, all of that. As far as the costs right now, we have currently allocated about $3 million for the project, and this additional $745,000 will cover the remaining balance plus a 10% contingency.
And total cost?
I don't know if I'm able to relay the bids because they haven't been awarded yet.
But you have budget.
I do have the budget. Like I said, the budget amount right now is there's $2,999,000 available in our current budget for this project right now.
Just so people understand how much a project like this costs when they're always asking for amenities.
Yes, sir.
Because it doesn't sound like that covers it.
Right, so it's $2,999,000.
Call it 3.
And open space is gonna put in another $745,000, so it's over $3 million.
Well, and then you do a 25%, match that, I was doing that quick math, so we're smelling 4?
No, it is, there, remember there's a 10% contingency included in this as well. So if there's usually some unforeseeables that happen within a construction project, which is why we add a contingency for those unforeseen circumstances. But it could be that all of that that 10% contingency may not be needed.
And to Commissioner Hans's point, you know, it's just phenomenal what costs have gone to, and there's probably not a week doesn't go by. How come we don't have this? How come we don't have that? How come we don't, you know, and every one of these requests, I mean, they end up being millions of dollars, you know, and it's, you know, but don't raise my taxes. Don't raise my taxes, but, you know, so.
Just so everybody understands, it's over $3 million for some tennis courts, pickleball courts, and bathrooms.
While we're talking about pickleball courts, I have a couple of questions. Of course, we've had several conversations with you involving pickleball.
Yes, sir.
Did we come up with a definitive cost for nets and stands for these courts, and I guess lining them as well per court?
So are you speaking about the courts that we are going to line on the basketball courts?
Yes.
Okay, so for, I'm gonna go over the whole thing just so
Okay,
the
that's
public
fine.
is
Go
aware
ahead.
of what we're talking about.
Okay.
So at Harriet Elizabeth Brown Community Center, there are basketball courts behind the community center facility, and we are looking at lining those basketball courts with pickleball court lines. That will be done in-house at minimal cost, just with purchasing paint and the staff time to complete that. And so that cost in itself is nominal. The nets, so the nets, the lines, you know, the stands and everything for the nets, that totals just under $700. We put in a requisition for that today to get that moving. We do expect for that project, we're cleaning up the area today. We will be hopefully painting tomorrow, letting it cure through Friday, and having it available with some temporary nets until the ones we ordered get here, having it available to the public on Monday.
Outstanding. That's less than a week turnaround.
So Shannon, if we take that court and turn it into pickleball, what happens to the kids that play basketball there?
What we're going to try to do during the school year, until the school year is over, is offer pickleball from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., where the kids are still in school. Alternative schedules for early release or holidays until the school year is over. We have not yet determined a schedule for when school gets out. We want to take a look at our users and see what the use looks like during the last month or so of the school year, to see when the most popular times are for the pickleball players, so we can have as much available for basketball as possible. Because as most know, that folks that are playing basketball, they're not looking for a schedule. They just want to come drop in and
It's a
play.
pickup game.
Yeah.
And, when we purchased that years ago, that was, I remember Commissioner Williams saying, it was the right price at the wrong time. We definitely needed it because we didn't have anything in Prince Frederick. And the focal point then was kids. That was the true, all politicians always say that it's for the kids, right? But that was the true focal point, because there had never been a community center there. So, I don't want to do anything that would hurt, children going there after school or weekends, something that, to give them something to do. We always hear there's nothing for kids to do.
Understood.
So I just want to make sure we're real sensitive to that.
Right, and there was another community center where they're already doing it. Was it Mount Harmony? Because we talked about not having to reinvent the wheel with the schedule.
Right. We do have indoor at Mount Hope Community Center.
Okay.
We do offer indoor pickleball at that facility on a scheduled basis.
And Shannon, this project in Dunkirk is over a year, 18 months long, correct?
It would be, once we get it awarded and they start work, probably about 12 months.
Yes, okay.
Shannon, do you have a point of contact within the pickleball community that you convey this information to? Like the basketball courts are going to be converted
good
to have the
point.
possibility to play between 8 and 3. Are they reaching out to you as one pickleball contact dealing with you?
At this time, they have been reaching out to commissioners
Okay.
on that. We have had a relationship with the individual in the past, and so we attempt to maintain that relationship.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Cove Point Park. We have resurfacing issues there, correct? For pickleball, tennis ball courts that need to be addressed.
So the tennis courts at Cove Point Park, we have applied and gotten approved for a grant of $700,000 to do the replacement of the tennis courts and updated design to add pickleball courts. With that funding, without having gone out to bid or anything on that project, we are still kind of in an estimate basis, but the grant is up to $700,000 to do what we need to do at that facility. So at this time, what we're certain that we'll be able to do is basically take the courts down to the soil and build them from scratch.
Time frame?
That one would probably be a little bit as well. We have not finished the scope to be able to put that out to bid yet.
Okay, and design for pickleball courts in addition to that?
It would be within the same time frame, but usually with design, you're looking probably 9-12 months.
Okay. One more question. In my travels yesterday, I went by Solomon's Town Center Park off Dow Road. They have a basketball court there also, don't they?
Yes, sir.
What's the possibility of doing the same thing there that we did, that we're going to do at the community center on Durst Beach Road?
Anything's a possibility, sir.
See how this works out and
How much you want to pay?
maybe move on. Well, actually, Mike, those are very affordable, in the whole scheme of things, very
Right.
affordable.
If you're just striping and putting it in that.
It's, you're talking about $1,500 basically for the conversion, correct?
Right, it would just be the scheduling,
Right.
that would be the
Okay.
concern. for that facility. I do know with Solomon's Town Center Park that we do have a good amount of use of those basketball courts, even during the day, even during the school year. So we would really have to look at an appropriate schedule to not displace as many people as possible.
Okay.
So, just to tag on, Commissioner, I do want to thank you because we just met last Wednesday night and asked you to make this conversion at the HEB. So I do want to thank you for acting so quickly because
Absolutely.
as we've learned, government does not move very quickly. And for government, this is lightning speed.
We try, sir.
It is.
It is.
Thank you.
It really
Thank you.
is. Thank you
So-
very much.
But for the citizens out there, it's not easy to just create amenities. If you pay attention to our process, it takes time and also money. You know, we're just talking about $4 million at Dunkirk Park pretty much, so it's a process. But thank you for
Thank you.
being flexible.
Absolutely.
We do appreciate it.
So we need a motion.
So back to topic, yes, I do need a motion.
So, Mr. President, I make a motion, I move that we authorize the board president to sign the program open space grant application and funding authorization for Dunkirk District Park tennis courts.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. Oops.
No, just making sure,
Oh.
because the state of Maryland, or the state Maryland Department of Natural Resources need to be mentioned, that's all. Just want to make sure we're covered.
No,
Okay,
we're good.
all right, good.
All right.
Aye.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you,
Thank
Commissioners.
you, Director.
You're
Nzali.
welcome.
Thank you.
That brings us to work session, Department of Finance and Budget FY 2024 Board of Education Budget Review. Director Strand, Dr. Townsell, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Sharon Strand, the Director of Finance and Budget. I'll go ahead and read the memo, and then I'll turn the meeting over to Dr. Council. Background, the Board of Education will be in person to present their fiscal year 2024 budget on April 25th, 2023. The Board of Education has requested an increase of $22.9 million over fiscal year 2023, though school enrollment is projected to have declined by 321 students to 15,086 for September 30th, 2023. Discussion. Staff has included $141,305,251 in the fiscal year 2024 Commissioner's budget, reflecting a flat increase from fiscal year 2023. Fiscal impact to be determined by the Board of County Commissioners' direction. Conclusion recommendation. Following the presentation, the staff will ask for guidance from the Board of County Commissioners regarding preparation of the Commissioner's proposed budget, specifically as it pertains to the allocation of revenue for the Board of Education.
Good morning, County
morning.
Commissioners.
Good morning.
I pray everyone's spring is off to a good start, and we have a successful summer so far. One of the most important responsibilities of the Calvert County Board of Education, in collaboration with the superintendent and staff, is to provide a prudent fiscal management. It can be very challenging at times. The proposed fiscal 2024 budget includes new cost pressures on multiple fronts. First, there is an inflation that's approaching 40-year highs. Inflation is increasing the cost pressures across the board in every school and in every department. Second, student transportation costs are increasing at an unprecedented rate. Third, the blueprint for Maryland's future requires additional salary adjustments for teachers. Teachers are required to receive a 10% salary increase occurring between June 30th and July 1, 2024. The proposed budget includes salary increases needed to meet this blueprint mandate. Lastly, the proposed FY24 budget includes funding for comparable wage increases for support staff and other employee groups and teachers not defined in the blueprint. These increases are included in the proposed budget to assure efficient operation of the school system and to provide equitable pay for our employees. The employees of Calvert County Public Schools have exemplified dedication and professionalism to ensure that this community can have an exceptional school system. We look forward to what the upcoming school year will bring. I would like to, if we go to the next slide in the presentation, if possible, if I can get through the presentation, because I want to break things down specifically. Oh, here we go. I got
Let me
it.
get it
Okay,
for
I'm
you.
good. I'm sorry, I didn't pay attention.
That's fine.
What I want to share is, we have an overall ask. In addition to the overall ask, I pray that if anything, I can get the compensation for our educators, because although we have to do something by the blueprint, as you can see, our employee support specialists of the year, our cafeteria workers, bus assistants, everyone is running through a wall for kids and adults and burning out, and we're trying to keep the morale up as much as we possibly can. And I believe one of the best ways to support the staff and to keep us as a top-tier school system in the state of Maryland is to compensate our employees. So that's one of my prayers. If anything, I would love to see that our employees get what they deserve as educators. It's a tough time to be an educator in the country, and I don't want us to be a victim of low morale like other educators in some cases. So our budget goals and guiding parameters, first and foremost, is to always provide a safe environment for students and staff, and to maximize the educational opportunities for students. Continue helping students make up the pandemic learning losses, very important to us. As you should know, across the state and in Calvert County, our academic achievement has dropped. The common denominator is the COVID-19 pandemic. That asynchronous, synchronous, hybrid, virtual learning, that's not the best learning environment possible for our young people, not for 16,000 students. The goal is to also attract and retain high-quality instructional and support staff. In the past, Calvert County has always been a high-paying school system to attract some of the best teachers in the state. As a matter of fact, I always have the privilege of going to every last one of our schools. In fact, this morning I was at Patuxent Appeal campus doing service awards for all of our teachers. We have educators that have been in this system 20, 25, 30, 35. I think the highest award I gave was an individual who's been working in the field of education for 50 and a half years. And they're here in Calvert County putting their institutional knowledge right here for our young people. The goal is to fulfill local, state, and federal requirements, for example, the blueprint. The goal also is to honor our collective bargaining agreements, and last, to provide excellent fiscal stewardship for the Calvert County Public School taxpayers. On this next slide, we broke it down. Blueprint requirements, and that doesn't include salary, and I'll share that with you. New positions needed. You remember I was asking for, safety advocates, things that we would like to have. Wage and salary increase, that's the total cost for not only what's mandated in the blueprint, but also every other employee in the county, and I have that broken down. And last are the other cost increases, for example, when I mentioned transportation. Looking at the blueprint requirements, the question is asked, hey, what do we have to pay with the blueprint? So salary aside, this is a blueprint mandate in this upcoming year. We must provide full pre-K, full day pre-K. So we're mandated blueprint, that's why it says required by the blueprint. Pre-K teachers, 1.5 FTE, and pre-K instructional assistants, that's 12 FTEs. As you know, we have 13 elementary schools, but we need 12 of those individuals because we already have a half-day program in place, so we have that instructional assistant. Additionally, this is required by the blueprint. We are now responsible for paying for advanced placement, PSAT, SAT, and all testing fees for our students in Calvert County, and that's across the state of Maryland. Every community is required to pay that. Additionally, we are required to pay by law career technical education certification, dual enrollment, national board certification. And for example, those are teachers who receive their national board certificate. They must, by law, receive $10,000 salary increase. Currently, we have 10 teachers that meet that requirement now. We have 68 in the pipeline, as an FYI. It's good for kids, but it comes with monies. And last is workforce development. That's working closely with the College of Southern Maryland with career counseling for our young people in the traditional education environment as well as career technical education. This next slide is what I requested. So for example, if there were no blueprint involved, if I was coming to the county commissioners, I would have been saying, hey, I need this. And so that's why this is here. We need 1.5 FTEs for bus assistant, and that is to reduce the student ride times on special education from the FY23 year. We already have a chief of communications. When I came into this opportunity to serve as the superintendent, we did not have a department of communications. And if you're running a multi-million-dollar organization with responsibilities over nearly 20,000 people, we need a communications team to effectively get the message across of what we're doing. Additionally, our Board of Education requested us to add 2 more gifted and talented education teachers. IT technicians, if you recall, I shared previously that we had IT technicians that were paid out of a grant in the past, and that ran out a long time ago. Unfortunately, on my watch, I have to ask for that increase because that has to come out of our general fund. The question was asked the last time, if we have other grant-funded positions, if it run out, will we do this again? And the answer to that question is no. If the monies do not exist, the position does not exist. So if that makes sense, that's moving forward. Safety advocates, I request 3. My hope and goal is to have 1 safety advocate at every middle school. Right now we have 3, so you have 1 person sharing 2 buildings. As a former high school principal, I'll be honest with you, that's not effective. Having a safety advocate here Monday, there Tuesday, here Wednesday, there Thursday, that's not effective in my humble opinion and based off practices. So that's what, you know, I'm naturally asking for outside of blueprint requirement. If you look at the next slide, this is what's very important. The question was asked, hey, for salaries, what must be funded this year? Please include the breakdown of steps, cost of living adjustment, and blueprint. So the first, I should have put a bullet, but just try to think of a bullet. The first bullet is CEA members defined by the blueprint. So for what is defined by the blueprint, that total cost is $8,797,300. That's with so let me be clear. What is asked for by the blueprint is the pay increase of 10% since June 30th, 2019, which is 5.5%, is what we owe our teachers. We owe them the rest of that 5.5%. So that total is $5 million. The step increases and the 1% COLA, those are negotiated in our collective bargaining agreement. Okay. Now, as we continue to go down, CEA members not defined by the blueprint, the total that we're asking for is $442,000. For all of our case members, that total is $2.8 million. For all of our CASA members, that total is $1.1 million. And for all of our meet and confer employees, that total is $272,000. So the subtotal of the salary and mandated benefit cost increase is $13.5 million. That's to give every individual that worked for Calvert County Public Schools the raise that they definitely deserve. The $5 million is mandated by the blueprint, just looking at that pay increase of 10%. Does that make sense, what I'm sharing?
Yes.
Yes, okay, I'll pause. Going to the next slide, the question was asked, what expenses must be funded this year? Again, what I also asked for were money for athletic trainer, behavior support. We reduced that down to $250,000. That was initially an $800,000 ask, but we cut that all the way. Also looking at fixed charges, the health insurance premium, Social Security, that was under budgeted for FY23, life insurance premiums, and the maintenance of our plant, our network core switches, operation of our plant, special education contract services, and so forth. And that total of the other cost increase was $5.6 million. Last slide I have here, a question was asked, can any of the Board of Education's fund balance be used to fund any of the requested increases? The answer is that we must avoid that for the following reason. Number one, if Calvert County Public Schools runs out of cash at any time during the fiscal year, we have very few options other than requesting a cash advance or an increase in funding from our county and or slowing down payments for non-utility vendors, a strategy that can be very unwelcome by vendors. Second, the use of the fund balance would translate to lower operating reserves throughout FY24, and this increases the risk that Calvert County Public Schools will run out of cash one or more times during the fiscal year 24. Third, the district's June 30th, 2022 unassigned fund balance was only 2.9% of budgeted FY23 unrestricted expenditures. So there is a very small safety net to protect against a host of potential budget uncertainties for 6, 12, or 14 months from today. Fourth, the Government Finance Officers Associations recommend the following. They recommend that at a minimum, the general purpose government, regardless of size, maintain an unrestricted budgetary fund balance in the general fund of no less than 2 months of regular general fund operating revenues or regular general fund operating expenditures. Fifth, fund balance can only be used once, and most of the above cost increases are recurring rather than one-time costs. And last, as of April 23rd, 2023, Calvert County Public School does not anticipate any increase in the unassigned fund balance at 6/30/2023. And the last slide is, again, the breakdown. Just looking at it like this to say, hey, if we have to do the blueprint alone to give all of the staff a raise, that's the blue color and that's the green color. And I will happily land my plane and listen to feedback.
Thank you, Dr. Townsend.
You're welcome.
Questions?
Sure, I'll start. So it's great to hear that you said that you're in favor of supporting the teachers, the support staff, and the administration. So with that being said, the salaries that you have listed here, do they include the fringe benefits for these salaries?
I believe so. I don't want to misspeak. I can get back to the team with that exact answer. I know my CFO is absent today. I believe so, however, I'm not sure.
Okay. So I would like clarification on that, but it's
Copy.
great to hear about the support staff, and that's not listed in the blueprint.
Far away.
How about the pre-K? We talked about pre-K. We have housing for all pre-K. How many students are we talking about? And we are ready to accept pre-K full-time, and we can handle everybody?
We will be ready. The team is still working on that now. As a matter of fact, by Friday, I will have a recommendation for our supervisor of early childhood education, which will support the entire pre-K opportunity.
Okay.
But our instruction department is working extremely hard. I'm very confident we will have a successful full-day pre-K program in Calvert County Public Schools.
Okay, and one other question. You had the grant-funded positions. Was that the 26 grant-funded positions you had in your regular budget? And where would they be placed.
What page is
So
it?
we're back on page 5.
Okay. Page
So we have the
5.
grant funds down bottom. So I think in your budget, you had 26 FTEs for these grant positions. Where would they be used at?
I don't want to misspeak. I didn't include that here. I just want to give you the hardcore what we're asking for.
Okay.
The grant fund, that's from either title or state or local. So we have a grant team that worked that out. But we have a great grant program, whereas the educators that we have listed there are going to work the contract, and if it doesn't exist, the position doesn't exist.
Okay.
Is your communication team a new team, did you say?
Yes, ma'am. So what is new about communication is the chief of communications. We've always had Miss Tracy Chapelier, who works in human resources and does community outreach. So we add her as a part of the team. In addition to our webmaster who worked under IT, we moved that and Miss Tracy Chapelier's job into the department under Miss Renee Daniels, whereas we take pictures, we manage all of our social media accounts, all of the schools, individual accounts, emergency communications that go out. So for example, I know you guys received an email over the weekend. We had to shift that to the team of communications to reach out to those individual families. Prior to my arrival, that department did not exist. In today's age, we need that. So that total budget is multiple people with their full benefits.
Also, any questions that we have today, when can we expect a firm delivery on those answers? Because we were due this presentation on the 20th, and you came back with it. I received it at 8:50 last night with a $800,000 increase. We had staff running around calling your office. I stayed here late hoping it would come in so I could compare it to what you previously gave us. And it was disrespectful towards the staff, definitely. They took up a lot of time trying to trace this thing down. So I would like, before we leave here today, to have a firm commitment from you as to when we will get answers to our questions.
As soon as possible, and I'll be clear, I believe we got the specific questions maybe on the 20th, and we needed time to put the presentation together. I want to be respectful and give you exactly what you asked for and not just put anything together. So the intent versus the impact was not at heart. The intention is to respond in an effective manner and give you exactly what you asked for. I didn't know there was a deadline to turn it in. We had a list of questions, and initially we had no presentation. I thought it was a conversation of questions coming from the board, and then we were requested to put together a presentation.
And you only got that request on April 20th?
I believe so, or maybe a day before that or so.
Okay.
Yep,
We
so
got this at 8:50 last night for this
Yes, ma'am,
morning.
I sent it once it was complete.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Before we leave, please give us a date for answers to our questions.
Sure.
Because we are working very, very diligently with staff on these budget requests. And the blueprint, this is new for all of us. This is a big undertaking, and we need everything in a timely fashion.
Yes, ma'am, and I would also like to share, we've probably answered and will continue to answer probably over 200-300 questions, and timeliness has never been an issue. I think there was probably an expectation that I didn't know about with regards to this, so maybe the emergency on this team side, I did not know that.
I'll check it out.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, other than your educator and educator support staff salaries, what are your other primary focuses during this budget process?
Okay, so outside of the salary request, my hope is for the purple column, looking at the gifted and talented educators, the IT technicians, safety advocates for sure. That's a big deal.
How many do you need to have one in each school?
We need 3 more. We already have 3 for 6 of our middle schools. The extra 3 will give us 6 in total safety advocates to support every last one of our schools, every last one of our middle schools. And they definitely need that support.
Okay. So we've talked in the past,
Yes,
and we
sir.
feel that both boards can benefit from an assessment of public schools practices to determine whether operating economically and as efficiently as we possibly can. Though we don't need your agreement, we also prefer to work together and cooperatively. Therefore, we're going to ask you for your agreement to have a consultant perform an assessment of practices to determine whether there are opportunities to improve that performance. Like I said, you and I talked in the past, and we want to work together with you, really do. We just want to make sure that everything, taxpayers' dollars are being spent as effectively and efficiently as it possibly can.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I'll be happy to discuss that with our board as well. Yes, sir. I don't want to make a decision without the support of my Board of Education.
okay.
Sharon, I know it put you on the spot this morning. Did we have a chance to get those poverty numbers yet? What that 300% represents over poverty line, what that number is?
Yes, I think Jenna, oh,
To kind of put some perspective of what that number would be.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mark Willis, County Administrator. So I have a spreadsheet here. So poverty in this case is based on the federal poverty levels. It's not Calvert County versus Charles versus somewhere else. So it runs on a family size. Tier 1 is 300% above the poverty level. So if you were you're not going to have a single family member because you need a child to meet this category. So if you have a household family size of 2 in Tier 1, which is what the doctor's talking about, you would have to make below $59,160. So I have this spreadsheet that takes us through Tier 1, which goes all the way out to a family size of 14.
So do you have, like, let's say you got a mom and dad and 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
What would that?
So that would be a family size of 3, and under Tier 1, which is 300% above poverty level, that family, if they made greater than $74,580, there would typically be a cost for them. But
So I know what Blueprint, I believe I know what Blueprint says and what the goal is. You know, I'm a huge fan of pre-K. I don't believe that one kid, by being born, has an advantage over another kid. I think all kids need that education opportunity. So if I understand it right, if I'm a household that makes, say, $100,000 or $80,000, we don't qualify to be into that system. Am I hearing that right?
well, if you fall within the family number, the family size.
Say, back to the example of the 2
So if you're
parents and the 2 kids.
If you're a family, a mom and dad, or a single parent, and you have 3 children, or you have 5 children, so a family size, parent plus 5, that would be six individuals in the family. If you make above 120,000, if you make it below 120,840, you're going to be, you will have daycare provided. If you're above that, then there would be a charge.
But just to kind of keep it simple, just say just a regular family of 4.
Okay, a family of 4 would be if you make less than $90,000.
And that's mom and dad, 2 kids.
Yes, sir.
So let's say they make 100, he makes 50 and she makes 50, they don't qualify.
They don't qualify to have completely free daycare or pre-K.
If they're under that, there's no charge.
Correct.
If they're over that, do we know what that charge is?
I do not. No, I don't at this time.
We can get that number for you.
Please.
We can.
Because like a couple of emails I got during this process, you know, and I couldn't respond because we don't have those numbers yet. They were extremely upset because right now I know, obviously, your office can only tell them what's on the books right now. This is all new. But it's a big pushback that, you know, making 100 in today's world with 2 people is not that hard to do. I mean, minimum wage is going to $15 an hour. We're both leaving the county to work. We both need daycare, but yet we're excluded. Or the number this lady told me, and I don't know where she gets it from, was $11,000 a year. That's almost $1,000. Well, I guess it would be 9 months or whatever, whenever school's in. But, you know, she was like, that's no help to us at all. And I don't want to, I understand what Maryland says. I very rarely ever agree with what Maryland says, but I mean, if the taxpayers were all paying in, I think they should all have the same opportunity. $1,000 is a lot to ask for a family that's already, you know, and I'm sorry, the number you said was under how much again?
So for a family of four, $90,000. Tier
So
one,
90,
$90,000.
I can't afford it, but an extra 10,000 I can, right? If you take a typical 30% deduction, right, that family's only going to take home another 6,500, 7,000. They're still they can't afford the 1,000 if that's what the number is, $1,000 a month. So if we could get some more clarification on that, and are we going to turn anybody away?
Well, we're going to follow the law, and my hope and goal is to advocate as much as I possibly can for all of the citizens of Calvert County Public Schools. But if the law says I cannot do something, I will not break the law.
And that's always been my pushback with Maryland, you know, because the people paying for it can't use it, you know, and I'm sorry.
So, sir, the way that this program works is it's not dump everybody necessarily into the school system as of, you know, the next school day next year. So Tier 1 works for a gradual, it could be a gradual implementation of 3- and 4-year-olds into the system until the system is able to take all of them. Because there might be some parents out there that don't want to put their kids in the school system.
Right.
So, you know, Dr. Townsend wouldn't know that until, every year it might change, and it might be up and down a little bit, but if all the slots are filled, then you will move into a Tier 2. And a Tier 2 is when the capacity is over and you still need daycare, then there's a joint effort by both the county, the state, and the parents.
And what does that cost mom and dad?
So it pretty much doubles the amount because it goes from 300% above the poverty level to 600% above the poverty level. So a household of 4, you would go from, in Tier 1, if you're below 90,000, you would be, if there's a slot, you can move into it. If not, you fall into Tier 2, and there's a $180,000 threshold to get assistance, and that assistance does require that the parent at least share some of that cost. So it's school board, the county, state on behalf of the school board.
To qualify, they'd have to fall under 180.
Yes, sir.
So, and that goes back to, so you take, I'm District 1, you know, so many of my folks work across the bridge. And that is very time consuming, so they're all using daycare because it's not like they can hopscotch back, they're not close to work, I mean, they're traveling. So if say each person's making 50 each, they need that daycare, and it's not available at the Tier 1 to even pay that, then they're gonna take on the full brunt, if I understand it, at Tier 2, because if they're not making, if they're making under, the 180, I don't know how this helps them at all.
So I will say this, Dr. Townsend has Dr. Joe Sampson, he is my co-chair. I mean, and to be quite honest, I'm his co-chair. The truth is the truth. I mean, Dr. Sampson is really good at what he's doing. He's working with my assistant, which is Ruthie Buckler. She works in my office. She works directly with Dr. Sampson also. They're working on these numbers right now to make sure that we understand it, since we're working on the blueprint not just to define it, but to understand it. So these are the types of questions that we're trying to get to the bottom of as we move forward.
May I add one, and this just came out recently, you may know County Administrator Willis, young people that fall under Tier 2, and if they're in special population like ELL, then they do receive free pre-K. So that's starting to come out now, so different subgroups may qualify even if they're outside of Tier 1. So we just learned that. I learned that yesterday meeting with my executive cabinet.
And that's the continued refinement of the blueprint itself, so that we understand needs.
And not to beat this to death, but let's say back to your chart since you got it. Let's say I'm a single mom. And I got 2 kids. What's my threshold?
So it goes by the total family size. You're a single mom with 2 children, so you've got 3 individuals in the family. Your threshold is $74,580 under Tier 1.
So if she makes 80 at the base, she's excluded.
Yes, sir.
See, that's so wrong to me. That's just so wrong, and that's why I just disagree with, and excuse me, unfortunately, I know there's study groups and all with this, but it's politicians, unfortunately. I mean, and some of them are just so far removed of seeing that person out there that's trying to make it all happen, and at least, and there's some great child care providers out there, and I say that, but they're a business. They have expenses and stuff, and if you have a single parent, they know when that child's dropped off at school, the child's safe, and there's meeting the educational levels. I just don't know how we turn that child away.
Are they getting it free now?
We have half-day pre-K.
Is that single parent that you're talking about, are they getting free childcare now?
No,
So
I'm sure they're not.
what's gonna change? I'm missing what's changing.
Well, now with this requirement, right, for more dollars and more taxpayer dollars, how does that person see something for their money? Because now, this, there's funds being diverted there, but yet that person's still out
But
paying
aren't
daycare.
they paying now?
They are, but there's no relief. What I'm saying is there's no relief for that person. So, when Maryland's saying we've now got pre-K out there, well, only if you don't make X amount of dollars.
So if you're arguing for free pre-K, they can do that, but we pay. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
you
how.
make
it's
But
gonna
are we
work.
paying it now?
No.
With
But
this right here? No, with the positions and.
We're gonna start, yes, we're gonna start, and if he's got a trigger where he can charge and we don't want him to, all we have to do is cover that.
I mean, that's, kind of like where I'm going. I don't want
That's
the
just how it
person to pay
works.
twice.
That's just how it works.
I know, and then that's always been a big rub with me. I remember back when Lexi was little, we made too much, so we were out trying to find daycare, and I just hate this perception that my child had an advantage because I made X amount of dollars. I mean, to me, she was disadvantaged just because me and her mother are gone working. We're not home with her, and so.
But currently, we don't know what the charge is gonna be.
No, and so that's a
So
big
until we
dilemma for
know
me right
that,
now.
and if we
Well,
wanna
yeah.
subsidize it all, we can do that.
We'll be happy to share, especially with our board, how many young people enroll in our pre-K, full-day pre-K. what
And maybe it's not a
percentage-
big number, so maybe I'm,
And then but yeah, we want to look out for everybody, those that are falling through the cracks. But we'll see what our total enrollment are, what percentage is free, what percentage is remaining to pay. And that's good data to share with the community. And obviously, at some point, if an opportunity presents itself in Annapolis, I think that's what may emerge in the upcoming year when we see how it unfolds in communities like Calvert County.
yeah, because everybody here commutes. So everybody's got that stress and pressure, of daycare. And I know the daycare providers, they're struggling to try to keep up as well. So that was just, it's just always been a rub with me that, when I hear one kid has an advantage, one kid doesn't. To me, they all need that pre-K.
They're all gonna get it.
That's my hope.
It's the goal. Yep. Y'all done? Because I have questions, but I'm letting you go first.
I do, but I think I'm waiting on a lot more information once you get, so I'm just, today right now, I'm good, Mr. President.
All right.
I might have a follow-up. Go ahead.
All right, so I want to start with the blueprint requirements.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Townsend, under workforce development, it's $923,800. What is the workforce development
So
program?
workforce development supports young people post-secondary. So that's working with the career counseling. So we're receiving, we have to pay this, but we're expecting to receive $923,000 from the state to build out workforce development. So myself, St. Mary's County, and Charles County have been collaborating on an MOU with College of Southern Maryland to see how we can manage young people that are looking to go the career path as opposed to the college path. So that's a part of, I think that's Tier 1, the college and career readiness portion of the blueprint. And the entire state defined what every district receives with regards to workforce development. So we are expecting to receive that from the state, but we have to pay, we don't have it, we have to pay for that.
So if we give it to you and you get it from the state,
I don't know what that process looks like.
Because in the past, that process has been, once we give it to you, we never see it again. And I know you're new, and I'm talking about the past, but just in the past, once we give you money, we never get anything back.
Sure.
So I'm hesitant to give you $923,000 when you're telling me that the state might provide that.
And I can have our team get the exact on what that looks like, what that process looks like. But that number comes from the state of what we're allocated for workforce development. Other counties have a ton more, but that's our slither that we're hoping that we receive.
I don't believe that's an ask of us.
Okay.
I believe that if the state's telling you they're gonna give you that for this program, then I would be optimistic that you're gonna get it,
Sure.
So, and moving on to the next page, new positions. It has on here bus assistants, 1.5 FTEs to reduce student rides for special ed. How does 1.5 FTEs reduce this ride?
Yeah, so working with our transportation department, we're finding out that we're using instructional assistants in some cases and having them as extra duty work as bus assistants because we don't have enough. We need a couple extra bodies there to support bus assistants as opposed to pulling instructional assistants with different job descriptions to cover the bus. We're short on the bus assistant.
But the justification says it's gonna reduce student ride times.
Yeah, you have to have a bus assistant on a special education bus, and if there's not one available, you have to ensure one becomes available before you can transport that student. It's to be more efficient and not have to wait around to get a person to cover a bus to get a young person home, because by law, they have to have that assistant.
Okay. And so, moving on to wage and salary increases.
Yes, sir.
So, the 1% COLA was negotiated in the contracts, correct?
Correct.
But the 1% COLA doesn't go towards the 10%?
No, the total for the pay increase for at least 10% is that third column under every person, and we broke out the CBA and the COLA on its own.
So if the law says they've got to be at 60% and no COLAs go towards the 60,000, actually you're going to be over 60,000 when you get to 26 as a minimum. If the COLAs aren't included, Mr. County Attorney?
Morning, Commissioners. John Norris, County Attorney. There is a very specific provision for the 10%. It's not 10% that includes COLAs or exclude COLAs. It's 6-1009 of the education article. And from there, it's from July 1, 2019 through June 30 of 2024, teachers in the county must receive a 10% salary increase above the negotiated schedule of salary increases between the public school employer and the exclusive representative for the employee organization. So it's actually 10% above what their union might have negotiated for them between 2019 and 2024, July 1 of 2024. And for us to be able to verify that, because the county is not at the table negotiating those contracts, we do need a copy of those contracts for the teachers union. There's no parallel provision for the support staff, but I understand the board wants to support the support staff as well. But so I don't need the support staff contracts because there's no parallel provision in the state code.
So nothing negotiated in the contracts goes towards the 10%? So I'm correct. We're going to be way over 60,000 when we get to 26. If they've got to have 10% of their 2019 base, which was, what was the base at 2019?
I don't recall as I sit here.
So we need to know what the base was at 2019, if that's what the 10% is based on, because if the base in 2019 was $47,000, I'm just throwing a number out there, then the 10% only needs to be $4,700. Right? Does that
But what I
sound-
share is, so far, the teachers have received, I believe, 4.5% since 2019. So we're giving them the 5.5% remaining.
But the 4.5%, was that negotiated? Because the counselor's telling me that doesn't count.
No, we only owe, from my understanding, 5.5% because they would be over I understand what you're saying. We can verify that. But with working through the budget up to this point, we know we have a remaining of 5.5% to give teachers to get to that requirement by June 30th.
Of 2026.
No. So you're thinking, I see what you're saying. You're talking about the law that starts July 1, 26.
Right.
That we must have that base salary. I see what you're saying.
Right.
This is, okay, the 10% increase. So far teachers received 4.5% increase, and the blueprint says they must have 10% by June 30th of this year. So you're talking about
By June 30th of 24.
Yes, sir. June 30th of 24, this would meet that. But remember, we know blueprint is constantly coming down the pipe at us. There is going to be something new where just the minimum salary in every school district in the state must be 60,000. I don't think any of this stuff matters unless you're at the 60,000 mark. If we get there sooner than later, my understanding right this second is that we're at that minimum salary.
And previously, I think this will put us at 57.
We had the breakdown.
Yeah,
in the
we've talked
previous
about
slide.
that before. We still don't get us to 60. We're still not there.
Still be behind.
And see, Mr. President, I kind of into like right into the thought process. That's why, we need the maintenance of effort. The funding formula provisions that we had in place on top of those contracts, because at that point,
But if those steps were negotiated, Commissioner Hart, they don't count.
well, but there was restorative steps put in.
But if
that-
they
that
were
the school system
negotiated,
did, but
but if they were negotiated in the contracts, they don't count.
Well, that's why
Even
we
if
need-
they were left behind and we restored them.
yeah, that's why we need those contracts.
We can
because-
give you you can pull
Yeah,
them right now. It's on,
and
it's
then
on
I
our
think will give
website.
us a more concrete number, because that's what because it's a piece this year, but by next year, and you guys know how I do budgeting, I'm always looking way ahead. We gotta pay this year, but bills coming again
But
too,
if-
so.
I'm
that's-
just saying, if nothing negotiated in contracts counts,
Right,
then none of those steps count.
right, but.
Because they did not give them steps that weren't negotiated, I'm assuming.
Right.
Which you know what assuming means, but.
From my understanding, being here 9-10 months, we've been following the contract to the letter of the language.
Right,
I think, after July 1, 24, we'll have a year and some change to breathe before that next salary mandate comes to us. And that conversation will look, okay, what is the minimum salary of teachers defined in the blueprint across the district? And if it's, 59,000, we just have to bump it to 60,000.
and that's where I'm just trying to get a hard number, because, I don't wanna have a false expectation of, we hit it here, and then we think we're just duplicating that next year, because that may not be the case, it may not be,
I understand what you're saying.
if, let's say the number was 150, or one, you know what I'm saying, whatever it was. The next year, that number falls short. So I wanna know where we are from here, and then what we're gonna owe in '24, so where we were 141 last year. Let's say we thought it was 150, 160, whatever, and we go, okay, well, next year, shoot, we just gotta do the 160 plus a step and a COLA or what have you, and we think that's where we're at, but we could be way off, so that's where I'm a little hesitant, and I am uncomfortable, because we're kinda at the 11th hour, trying to get some of this. I'm hoping that we can get those numbers, but we will need those contracts and where we are, so we legitimately know what that number is, so we can address it.
Administrator?
Mr. President, we met with you, Dr. Townsell. It was Commissioner President Hance, Commissioner Hart, myself, and then Mr. Johnson was also there. When we were sitting there, you talked about a 2.75 increase twice. That 2.75 twice plus that 4.5 brings it to the 10% that we're talking about. Was that your attempt to close the gap on that 10% that we would have to show according to the blueprint?
Yeah, so the goal was to, not give all the chunk out of our funds right then and there. So I think we were trying to give by March 2.75, March, and then by June
This past March, and then,
this upcoming year.
No, this
So-
okay,
This
okay.
upcoming year. So we're waiting to, when March comes, everyone gets that 2.75 influx, and by the end of the year, they get the remaining 2.75.
Yeah. And look, this board is gonna do for everybody whatever we do for one.
Yes, sir.
We're not gonna, I mean, I know that's been a concern of you, it's been a concern for your staff, but I think that at least from the discussions this board has had, whatever we do for teachers, we're gonna do for everybody else.
Yes, sir, thank you.
So, I don't want anybody to think that we're not. It's just, this is a big number. And I don't even have to go through the rest of it. And this is, this is not a question, this is a comment, Dr. Townsell.
Yes, sir.
We live in a region where we're 3 counties and we all work pretty close together, and we have the smallest school system in the state. And you've asked for 6 times what any of the other school systems have asked for. And I just don't understand, and this is not a question for you, because I know you can't answer it. St. Mary's County has given their school system $3 million and called it a day. And in Calvert County, with a smaller school system, $3 million for Blueprint is just gonna cover minor stuff. Doesn't even address the 10% that we've gotta meet. And in my head, I just can't get wrapped around why in Calvert County it's gonna cost $14 million to meet Blueprint, and in Charles and St. Mary's together, it's not gonna take $14 million. That's what I think we are struggling with as a board, of how, and it's not for you, I keep repeating myself, this is not a question for you, and it's just a commentary and I'm venting. I don't understand how in Calvert County it's gonna cost this much money, and the other counties together, it's not even half. I just don't get that. How is that possible? And we've gotten information from the state that's reduced our MOE because of student enrollment, and they even say it shouldn't cost this much money. Because, they're getting pushback from all the other counties about how much it's costing us, so they finally put out some information and said, this is what it should cost Calvert County. It's nowhere near this. Nowhere near it. And I understand that the other counties may not even be looking at their total staff, and we want to take care of total staff. Even when you take that out, it's not even close. That's what we are challenged with and struggling with, Dr. Townsell. And so, you're new, so it's unfortunate that you've walked into this situation. But that's our challenge when we hear it's going to take $17 million to meet Blueprint. That's what we're struggling with. And we are going to meet whatever's required by the law and do whatever else we think is fair to our employees, your employees, and our students. We want to have an excellent school system. We don't want to do anything to deter from that. But for us, when you come in and ask for $24 million, I've only been on this board 5 years, and in commissioner years, that's 20. You know how they talk about dog years and people years? In commissioner years, 5 years is 20 when you go through this every year. And I know that you're as challenged as we are, because you're walking into it just like my 3 fellow commissioners are brand new, and they're walking into it and they're struggling. Because in my first 4 years, we never had anything like this. Nothing. And we are challenged, and we represent the taxpayers of this county, and we're going to do whatever's best for them. And so, we've had some discussions, and I don't know how we're going to address this. You talk about, how you can't use fund balance. You know how you got that fund balance? That was money left over that the county or state gave you and you didn't need, so you just accumulated it. And this board and any future board is not going to let you fail and not going to let you not pay your bills. So for me to hear that we have to have this fund balance so we can pay our bills, we are not going to let that happen. And I believe we should use fund balance to cover some of this. And I understand it's a one-time thing. I get that. And these are ongoing costs. But at least that provides some relief to the taxpayers for a short period of time. And at the end of the day, it was their money that you're holding in those fund balances. So we're gonna, if we can, use your fund balance to help cover some of this. I don't believe it's fair to the taxpayers to let you continue to, and I know you say you don't anticipate any fund balance next year. Sir, I can tell you I've heard that in my previous 4 years. We don't anticipate any fund balance, but it happens. For whatever reason, it happens. You know, you're gonna have salary savings every year because you're gonna have vacancies and just the process alone, you're gonna have salary savings. You're never gonna be at 100% of the time. We get that. So this is just a work session, and I might get shot before I'm out of here, but this is gonna be different this year. And I don't want your staff to get excited. I don't want the parents out there to get excited, but for us to get through this budget, I think at the end of the day, we may end up where 6 months from now, we may revisit your budget, because we want to make sure you have what you need. But I'm not sure we're going to write you a check for $23,200,000 July 1 in additional funding. And I'm just speaking for me. You know, I didn't vet this with these guys before I opened my mouth this morning.
Yeah,
but
I agree with you completely. I mean,
I agree as well.
it's a challenge for us, and there's more information we got to gather, and I'm not sure we're going to get there by June the 6th, but we're going to balance our budget, but we are not going to let this school system fail in the future. And so we're going to work together and work through this, but I just can't get answers to some of the questions that I have, no matter how many discussions we have. I just can't get my head wrapped around this.
well, you know, too, historically, you know, it was pretty basic, right? It was set up on MOE, you know, per pupil, however many kids you had, that was the bill. Then, you know, you figured up, okay, that took care of that, and you put steps, COLAs, what have you, it was pretty straight ahead, pretty easy. And then, you know, before I got on the board, there was 5 years, there was no steps, no COLAs, just a little history lesson. Then the first year there was nothing, and then by year 7 at that point, finally there was one step. So when the funding formula that had been used, you know, because, you know, they say the rainy days come, well, the rainy days have been coming. And, you know, the county had raised taxes, everything else. Well, once the Dominion money started coming in and we went back to a funding formula, it reset it again. And then restorative steps came in, so the process changed. So now we're back to another, and I know for teachers, this has got to be, they just want to just run screaming, because now there's another phase, now with Maryland saying, well, everybody will now make the same across there. So it is harder to figure, because it was such a basic thing. You knew, hey, if last year I think we were, 141?
130.
And then MOE this year would be 136. So the back and forth would be, well, okay, if we went MOE, there's a 5 million shortage, but hey, we ran the system on that. So, but it was really easy numbers. It really was. There wasn't all these variables, and every number was there almost a year ahead of time. And I remember before, you know, when we had the funding formula, the former superintendent said, God, this is so nice, because we already know what we have going in. So we didn't have as much dialogue. But Maryland basically blew all that up and said, now you're going to do it this way. But yet, there's not all the guidance. They forgot about support staff, which is unbelievable. I don't know how you run an organization and say, I only worry about part of my employees. But regardless, but then yet they still don't have everything to you for you to give to us. So kind of to Commissioner Hance's point, and I've never done it this way, it may be done in couple phases, so to speak, because we don't have the numbers. Somebody said to me, just write a blank check. I don't do that. I'm responsible to 90,000 people, you know, just as you wouldn't or anybody else would. So, but Commissioner Hance's absolutely right. The system's never going to fail. That's not even a discussion, so, but, it's going to be different. I hope there's not false expectations out there. You can't pay what you don't know. Some people don't want to hear that, but it's just a fact. If you don't know, and people say, well, why don't you know? We don't know daycare numbers, because we don't know, right? We don't know, till we get these contracts and get all these numbers here together, and I don't know all that can be done the next couple of weeks. But I do believe that the goodwill is there to try to do put together the right thing in place. But it makes no good to go ahead and float a number that we cannot support. And if we had $24 million laying around that wasn't going nowhere, I should be fired, because that means I overtaxed you that much money. We're supposed to be a nonprofit organization, basically, and if I was taxing at that rate, then somebody needs to ask me, what have I been doing, to just have 24 million laying around. So, just unfortunately, I think it's going to be a work in progress.
Because if we do, you've got guaranteed contracts that call for COLAs and steps. And if we do just the COLAs and steps for everybody, that's $4 million. $4 or $5 million in my quick math. So, and we're gonna do that.
When I first saw the number.
I say that,
I'm sorry,
but my 20% is we're gonna do that.
I agree.
And when I first saw the number, I started talking about us doing a review of all the expenditures and the line items from the word go. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time this year to get that done. That's why I want to get the ball rolling now on that through the process. So maybe next year we won't even be having this conversation. Maybe we can find some savings in there. Mr. County Attorney, while he's here, do we need anything else number-wise for a blueprint from Dr. Townsend?
As I mentioned earlier, the contracts from July 1, 2019.
Outside of the contracts, nothing else?
Outside the contracts, no. It would have been advantageous if we could have agreement today on the performance assessment, but as I said, 5-110 doesn't require the Board of Education or the superintendent's concurrence.
Okay.
And as I have cautioned my colleagues, Dr. Downsell, this analysis may come out the other way. Just
I'm
be
new,
prepared.
you're new, that's why I requested this. I think would benefit all of us, I
I'm
really do.
just preparing you for any outcome.
I understand that, but in looking at, as you said, the Tri-County area and where everybody else is and where we are, I think we need it, I really do.
It won't hurt a thing.
And there's so many things. We know we need more mental health professionals. Everyone does. I think we talk to the hospitals, everything, just the shortage is so bad. You could put more money in arts, athletics, so I'm not opposed to that analysis at all. And like I say, we're saying careful what you wish for, but you know what, if somebody outside that's not sitting here with no pressures from anything can look at it objectively and say, you know what, why are you doing this, or why aren't you doing that? Just somebody, that's what they do for a living. I'm a business person, the smartest business guy gets people that does what he doesn't know how to do or she doesn't know how to do and takes that advice. I need refrigeration in my business, but I don't know how to fix it, but I have somebody that does. So I agree with Commissioner Ireland that I think a thorough analysis, top to bottom, would be good for everybody.
And I will apologize, I didn't need a presentation. I knew, so I'm sorry for that, but I didn't need it. I know where we are and I know where we gotta get. I just don't know how we're gonna get there today. We are gonna get there. I'll just sleep a little less until we get there. Questions, comments?
Good. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll be in touch.
That was just water drop.
There's nothing in it but water, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Townsend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That brings us to public comment. Counselor?
Thank you, sir. The board adopted a resolution in 1989 intending to maintain the order and decorum of the governmental process. A copy is found here to my right. And the Ethics Commission has asked that we remind speakers of public comment that lobbyists include those who seek to influence public policy, and lobbyists must register in advance. Floor has been open for public comment. First from persons in the meeting room who begin making their way to the microphone, then those joining us virtually. All speakers must identify themselves, and whether speaking as an individual, where you be allocated 2 minutes, or as the designated representative of a group, where you be allocated 5. For those attending virtually, you may press star 9 or use the raise your hand function. Virtual speakers will be identified by the last 4 digits of their phone number or by their screen name. Is there anyone in the room who wishes to provide comment? Nope. And there are 2 on Zoom. Mr. Cormier, you may unmute yourself. Identify yourself and whether speaking as an individual or the designated representative of a group.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Joseph Cormier, and I'm going to speak on behalf of myself this morning. First, I want to thank Commissioner Ireland for joining us at the CCAC Awards the other Tuesday. It was a great night where we were able to celebrate with families and staff across the county of all the good things that are happening in special education. It was great to have that partnership between the Board of Ed and the County Commissioners there. I want to thank you all for your discussions today. This blueprint is a huge beast to tackle, and I appreciate all the questions we were asking today. You know, I do wish we had universal pre-K. I believe Worcester County out on the East Coast does universal pre-K, but their population's a lot smaller than ours. But their kindergarten readiness assessments are double ours, and I think that investing in early education is where we're going to see the most benefits. So anything we can do to increase pre-K availability here in the county is going to help all families as we continue to grow at our career technical academies, you know, getting students interested in careers and providing them the tools that they need and giving them that leg up by paying their testing fees and things. It's only going to benefit our county more. So I know we all love pickleball, but we really need to increase what we're doing for education. And as far as the budget, any savings we can do, you know, would be greatly, you know, appreciated. We all buy toilet paper, we all buy fuel, we all buy utilities. Anything the county and the school system can do jointly to save that money and take that out of the overall budget so we can focus on staff is where we need to be. I'm a union member, I'm a proud union member, and I'm glad of all the discussions today talking about support staff and providing for them, because without them, the teachers wouldn't be able to do the great jobs they're doing. So thank you again for your great discussion today, and just keep it going. I appreciate you.
Caller, last 4 digits, 7058. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself and identify yourself, and whether speaking as an individual or the designated representative of a group.
Hello, Joshua Johnson, representing Calvert County for Concerned Citizens. I do appreciate the dialogue today and the concern of all the commissioners, Commissioner Ant. Thank you for your input. It's worth questioning the budget. The Board of Education has a fiduciary duty. That means they have the utmost responsibility to protect the benefactor, which is the county's citizens. In this, they must provide an accurate budget, not a concept. Accuracy. That is the line item budget. It's what an accountant would expect. It's what the citizens here would as well. There has been questions. You're asking the right questions. March 13th, there was proof the commissioners became aware that there was no line item budget. In fact, they became aware that it was thought that there was none at the Board of Education. This was after the superintendent went out and asked for $24 million. I do understand being new. I understand trying to do the right thing. I appreciate the fact that Mr. Townsville is trying to do that. We do need, however, a budget before we ask for money. April 14th, there was a direct Freedom of Information ask for a line item budget. Still with no response, it's fairly clear that there isn't one. I didn't hear the first portion of this. I was working. But that would be the assumption after the Freedom of Information Act that was asked. This is the potential breach of fiduciary duty. We do need to make sure that we know what we're doing, and I think that was alluded to today, what we're paying for before we pay for it. I appreciate the open dialogue. I will request, as well as our group, that not only do we have an actuary audit, but also we would only pay the state minimum for this year until we get the actuary audit. we as citizens and we, as representatives need to make sure that the money is spent fairly. Within 3 to 5 years, our stipendings that we would have in reserves would be in question, and taxes would most likely have to be raised. It's just important, a dollar is spent once, that we're wise about it, and I appreciate everybody, in trying to make sure that's being done. I did want to point out the bus staff for special needs. What wasn't stated was there was an issue, and it was brought to Mr. Navarro's attention that they were putting special needs kids with behavioral issue children. We've already had one individual that was beaten. They could not protect themselves. It's a liability to the county. And I think maybe Mr. Townsend and the Board of Education is trying to directly address that. Maybe that would be, that I believe ultimately these two different needs, children need to be on different buses and more efficient bus routes made versus putting more staff at a problem that's probably going to be continued, because even these support staff individuals don't have the capability to do much inside of that. It's best to be able to have these children apart for the safety and the liability of Calvert County. Thank you again for everybody. That's all I have.
This last speaker.
Thank you all. So that brings us to commissioner reports. Commissioner Cox?
Yes, attended a CTA fundraiser event this weekend. Also attended Dunkirk Volunteer Fire Department banquet, so thank all the volunteers up in Dunkirk. And my condolences goes out there to the Craddy family. Mr. Craddy passed away this morning, a lifelong resident of Kenwood Beach community.
Thank you. Commissioner Ireland?
Tuesday the 18th, I attended U.S. Fish and Wildlife. They did a presentation at the Calvert Marine Museum. It was from the Patuxent Wildlife Sanctuary. And they're working on land preservation along the Patuxent River. They've identified, I forget how many acres it was, a significant area. Basically runs from Merkel all the way down to Solomons along the Patuxent River. So it's another tool for those looking to preserve land. We did a site visit last Tuesday after a meeting at Exelon. It was very interesting. We got to tour the plant. It was the first time I'd actually been in there that deep. Wednesday, we had the Joint Planning Commission hearing, public hearing. That went well. Thursday, the 20th, as Joe Cormier mentioned, we did the Calvert High Support Staff Awards. Many parents put in nominations for the kids. It was very well done. Joe Cormier actually coordinates that event, and he kept it to exactly 1 hour. I asked him how he did that, but he said it would be an hour, and it was, I think it was actually 58 minutes. I think he was 2 minutes shy of an hour.
He should run our meetings.
Saturday evening, had Dunkirk Volunteer Fire Department banquet as well. Commissioner Cox did a proclamation for them there. And then we went to St. John Vianney for Our Lady Star of the Sea benefit. Commissioner Hart and Commissioner Grasso and myself and former Commissioner Weems and former Commissioner Clark were there. It was a fun event. Like I said, the Hubcaps were the entertainment. We had a good time, and if you're a Hubcaps fan, you better see them this year because this is their last year. They're going to be done. They said they can't do it anymore. So, like I said, you better enjoy them while you can. Thank you.
Commissioner Grasso?
After our last meeting last Tuesday, we all toured the Exelon plant. Well, 3 of us toured the Exelon plant. On the
2 of us been there before.
Yeah, I know, you've been there before, but
Couple times.
the 3 newbies toured it, and it was a great tour. We had, on the 19th, BOCC attended a joint meeting with the Planning Commission. On the 21st, CSM had a ribbon cutting for their Health and Science building. That is a fabulous addition to our community. On the 22nd, I had a ribbon cutting in North Beach at their new nature center. It'd be great to take your children or grandchildren to that. Very nice. I also attended the Dunkirk Volunteer Fire Department Awards Dinner at Sassafras Farms. And that evening, I attended the Father Alexander Gala at St. John Vianney. And I know this doesn't count, but my husband took his 40 Ford Coupe to the CTA event, and he had a really good time.
It does count.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hart?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Charlie Busey had his celebration of life Saturday, and he was a remarkable man. If anybody had ever met him, he did so much. We're so lucky in the county. There's been so many people that they're just on so many different boards. We always joke when you need somebody called Wilson Perrin, if you to be on the board. And Charlie was one of those type of guys. He'd spent time, on the ethics committee, and he was very instrumental when we got the animal shelter going. And he'll really be missed. He was one of those cool guys that didn't tell you what you want to hear, told you what you need to hear. And sometimes they're in short supply. And then been to the other joint thing, but I didn't think the joint meeting did go as well for me. I didn't like the outcome, but guess we'll work on it. And the Father Alexander Galahad, it was nice to see Father Gardner. Hadn't seen him in a long time. Father Mike's always comical, and met Father Bob. Met him before, but didn't have a chance to really talk to him too much. So I was, and like Commissioner Allen said, hubcaps are starting to wind it down. So that's it, Mr. President.
Thank you. I don't know what I did last week. My head's still in the budget. I did go to the nursing center dedication. That is a wonderful facility that will benefit our citizens and students in Southern Maryland, help you enhance your educational experience and get you an improvement in your career, future careers. And there's a great need for nurses. And to have a facility like that right here in Southern Maryland is wonderful. It was very well attended, a couple hundred people there. And I did skip out on the Exelon tour. I have been down in the hole several times through my fire experience. Thank God we never had to go there in real life.
Right.
But,
It's hot enough as
Exelon's
it is.
been a great partner, been here for, almost 50 years, I guess, and provided many jobs. As I told them that day, the plant opened the year I graduated from high school, and a lot of my fellow classmates got jobs there. Now they're all retiring. They had wonderful careers, made a good living, and never had to commute outside of Calvert County. That's a pretty good day's work. So hopefully they're here for another 50 years. And Sunday, I took the day off and took my grandkids to the National Zoo, and it was a great day, and they had a great time. And
Good for you.
so just
Didn't
had to
let
take
you
a
come
little
in, they
time
didn't
off.
keep you.
Yeah, they did.
Although
they could have.
You made me remember something. I'm just bad dad. It was Zach's birthday, Sunday. So yeah, it's just bad dad. It just all runs together. So I asked him, "Did you want Dad to make you something, or you want to go out to the restaurant?" He's like, "Restaurant."
Yeah.
So
I went Friday. Friday, I attended a viewing for Jimmy Teddimer, father of Matt Teddimer, one of our employees, and on Thursday, Ricky Cox, who, not Sheriff Ricky Cox, the other Ricky Cox, who was my cousin, worked for county government for 46, 47 years, until the day he died.
Wow.
So cousin Ricky, yes, Katie?
We will be doing a proclamation momentarily.
Yeah, great county employee and great Calvert County citizen. That's all I have. You have a motion for me, someone?
Okay. I move to recess to executive session pursuant to general provisions, Article Section 3-305B1I, to discuss the employment of employees over whom the board has jurisdiction. 2, executive session pursuant to 3-305B4, to consider a matter that concerns the proposal for a business to locate, expand, or remain in the state.
second.
Have motion and a second that we go into executive session. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Everyone have a great day.